Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 190. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Wednesday afternoon/evening, and I'm joined, as I often am, by Scott Coleman. Scott, here we are again. It's a Wednesday. Thought we were probably going to talk about a sweep, and then we're not, which might dampen the vibe a little bit, but I'm going to do my best to not let it dampen the entire vibe. That's my aim on this podcast. How are you, my friend?
Hello, Brad. In this instance, I think two things can be very true. Wednesday's game was very frustrating. It was the first time in a long time that the offense just completely wet the bed. All of those things. I think our colleague Stephen Tolbert said it best. This felt like a 2024 loss where they got great pitching but could not score. But we would be remiss not to do our usual bit that the Braves won the series. And if I would have told you Friday morning that they were going to go 4-2 out west against the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, I think you have to take that, even if today was kind of a gut punch, the way the game played out.
Yeah, and I teased it a little bit on social media, kind of tongue in cheek, about how you'd be mad on the podcast and I would not be mad on the podcast. There's more nuance to us than that, Scott. I will say. We should say at the top of the show, if you're new to the podcast, first of all, welcome to the show. We are Hammer Territory. We cover the Braves year-round. We are part of the Foul Territory Network, so please go ahead and subscribe to this show and all of the podcasts around Foul Territory. But yeah, we thought we could be maybe celebrating, like we said. It was a frustrating game that we will dive into in more depth in a few minutes. Our colleagues, you already mentioned Steven, also Sean battled through illness on Tuesday evening to deliver a more upbeat podcast because they just covered 2 wins. So if you want more depth on the games from Monday and Tuesday, that's the place to go. The Braves scored 14 runs. They just kind of had breezy victories against a bad Rockies team. It is a bad Rockies team, to be sure. But we were talking before we started recording, and exactly 2 weeks ago, you and I did a podcast, as we often would on a Wednesday. It was April 16th. The Braves had just lost to fall to 5-13 on the year. It was Strider's debut. He was fine, but they lost the game. And the headline of the podcast was kind of tongue-in-cheek, but also kind of serious. And it was, "What's wrong with the Atlanta Braves?" That was the headline of the podcast. And we were wondering that aloud. It was not going well, right? Obviously, they started 0-7. We all know that. But they also just hadn't gotten back on track yet at that point. It was a little bit better, but nothing was solved. It was frustrating, to be sure. Since then, they've won 4 consecutive series. And they're 9-3 in the last 12 games. And to me, while we will lament today's game even more in a second, it's really hard for me to come on here and be like, woe is me, after they go 9-3 in 12 games and win 4 straight series. And part of that's just me being me, but also you and I did the show Sunday and said, look, it'd be great to sweep the Rockies. And when you win the first 2, you start to get really greedy. And you should win. They were big favorites today for a reason. They lost the game. But winning 2 out of 3 is pretty much the expected outcome. I know the Rockies are as bad as a team could possibly be. I understand that. But we even alluded to on the betting odds on Sunday, like, you're not 100% favorite in a game. Like, you're probably 70% in each one of these games. And if you add those together, you win 2 of them. And yeah, they could have won 3. But big picture, it's like, I'm not ultra optimist guy all the time. But when you go 9-3, win 4 straight series, and also win 2 series in a row on the road on the West Coast, which can be tricky, like, I'm feeling pretty decent, even if today was not ideal.
Yeah. Look, man, the tone of that podcast 2 weeks ago.
It was rough.
Not good. Not good. We were talking about, if they don't figure this thing out in a few weeks, we could legitimately be looking at a really bad summer and all of those things. And it feels like we're not going to be there, thankfully. Yeah, man. I mean, nobody feels good after a loss to the Rockies. It's funny, the last 2 series, the Braves won games 1 and 2, and then lost frustrating game 3s.
Just for me and you on the podcast. That's yes, what usually happens.
Never fails. If you're a longtime listener, you know, seemingly Brad and I do a show. Maybe this is our sign to no longer do podcasts, Brad. I don't know.
Perhaps.
Yeah, but sure. I mean, you know, any loss to the Rockies, that is an abysmal baseball team. God bless you if you are a Colorado Rockies fan still tuning in. That is a rough team. But, man, I mean, it's baseball in a nutshell. Great teams lose to terrible teams all the time. And we aren't going to sugarcoat it. Of course, we were hoping for a sweep. It would have been kind of that ceremonial back to 500 with a win. You have an off day on Thursday. My mentions on Twitter, dear God, you would have thought the Braves just blew a 3-0 World Series lead. And I get it. Fans are frustrated. Everybody was hoping to go into that off day at 500. Then you get back home where the Braves, I think, have maybe the best record in baseball at home so far this year. All of those things. And of course, they lose a stinker 2-1 with Chris Sale on the mound, which we'll talk about Sale later. He was honestly maybe the brightest point of this entire road trip, that he seems like he's back to his usual ways. But yeah, what are you going to do? It would have been a really, really fun podcast. It'll still be a good show. We always try to have good shows, but a loss on getaway day, day game, off day, Dodgers awaiting, all of those things, just kind of a little bit of a bummer.
Right. And the way you said it actually makes sense to me as you're saying it. Like there was also a lot of like round number, like convenient stuff. They had won the game back to 500. You end the month with a win. You kind of fully erase the 0-7 start by getting back to level. All those things that could have happened. You sweep the worst team in baseball, and it was right there for them, and they just didn't hit the baseball today. And I think part of why I'm not reacting more strongly is because it's April 30th, but also that the Braves have been hitting consistently, and that was the problem today. Like oftentimes, I don't know about you, when your frustration boils over is when something that hasn't been happening keeps not happening. Like if the Braves don't hit for 2 weeks and they keep losing because they're not hitting, that is when your dander gets up even more, I feel like. But when you're hitting for 2 weeks straight, as we'll talk about more in a second, and then you have a stinker, it's like, am I going to be mad about the offense? Like big picture, like it's kind of hard to be mad about the offense right now. If that happens 3 more times in a row after this, then you can start getting mad about the offense again. But early in the year, it was disastrous. But like they've been a top 3 offense in baseball for about 4 weeks now. Like however long you want to say that is, like it's hard to yell and scream. So, and also you alluded to it, but I just pulled the number. The worst team in baseball history was last year's White Sox by the numbers. They still won 25% of their games. This is not the NFL or the NBA where like you can have a team that wins like 10% of their games. Like teams go 1-16 sometimes in the NFL, or teams might go 10-72 in baseball and basketball. If you win a quarter of your games, you're favored to win a game in every series. Like you're not always going to win a game in every series, but like that's just the nuts and bolts of it. Anyway, the Rockies are awful. That's what makes it frustrating. If they lose a game to anybody but the Rockies right now, it's just easier to sell that to anyone. But the Rockies are so legendarily bad that it's like hard to spin. But we're not trying to spin. I actually believe this, what I'm saying.
Oh, I do too. And trust me, I mean, we try not to do the holier than thou on this show. I was frustrated, man. I was watching the game in my office on and off. Don't tell my boss. And I mean, I was shaking my head, and they only had 3 hits, and they had 2 hits going into the 9th inning before a meaningless single from Ozzie Albies. Only 3 walks against a starting pitcher who had walked the entire planet.
It was bad.
Yeah. Just
it was bad.
Again, no one's going to come on and say, well, actually, here are 9 good reasons it's a good thing to lose to the Rockies. We're not going to do that.
We should do that. I think a good podcast. People are very mad at us. Very lively YouTube comments that day. We tried to pull that number on somebody. But yeah, you're right.
We're not that crazy. But full circle, 2 weeks ago, 5-13. Today, 4-16. I think you have to take it, even if the taste is bad in our mouths from the loss today. And hopefully now they go home. A big series against the Dodgers, and then the schedule continues to be pretty light for the next couple of weeks after that. Hopefully the Braves can keep taking advantage of a softer schedule and eventually get to that 500 mark and keep climbing.
The Braves have done what they needed to do so far after the 0-7 start. They had to climb out of it. They're starting to do that. They've been doing it for a while, up and up and up, and no guarantee that continues, but so far they have done what they had to do after digging themselves that hole at the beginning of the season. All right, Scott, we're going to get into more about today's game in some depth, and also later on in the podcast, a preview of that showdown with the Dodgers over the weekend. First, though, word from our sponsors on the podcast.
Kratz, let's talk about the #1 recommended dermatologist hair growth supplement brand, and it's a brand that you are just starting your journey with.
I'm using about 1.5, 2 months into my journey. It's a 6-month journey. See what I can get. See a little thicker, fuller everywhere, filling it out. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I'm very excited to see the Nutrafol results with Kratz. And don't show us your hat yet, okay? You got to stay tuned through this journey. And if you want to join Kratz for this journey, you can start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering FT listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code FOUL. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com. Promo code FOUL. That's Nutrafol.com. Promo code FOUL.
Okay, Scott, we're going to change up a little bit on the format of the podcast and tee up the segment that it's brought to you by FanDuel Sports Network, where you can now stream Braves games. I'll tell you more about that in a second. And the spotlight segment today that we've been doing pretty much for the last month is about Chris Sale. And Chris Sale was the bright spot on Wednesday. He was by far the bright spot. Honestly, not even really up for debate, in my opinion. Maybe disagree with me, but I'll tee it up here. Sale threw 7 innings. He allowed 2 runs. He had 0 walks and struck out 10. And yes, the Rockies are abysmal. We just got done saying that. But pitching in Coors Field is pitching in Coors Field. It's the worst place in the league to pitch. And to put up those numbers at Coors Field, when you've been struggling a little bit, Chris Sale's not been the best this year. I thought that was pretty obviously a step forward for him. And I couldn't, I guess I understand it to some degree, but people were complaining about Chris Sale today. And I was like, guys, forest through the trees. Like he was quite good in this game. He wasn't absolutely perfect, but I thought he's the easy bright spot in this one.
Oh, he's absolutely the bright spot. And now it's 2 starts where Sale has been at least closer to himself.
Yep.
The start against the Diamondbacks Friday night, he was probably effectively wild. His final line was pretty good, although I think Chris needed like 90 pitches to get through 4 innings. Still fighting some things. Sale looked vintage Sale today. The slider was really, really good. I think by default today, Sale was pulling back on the fastball velocity because the reason I say that, it was lower for most of the game, but that he was slinging like 97, 98 a couple times in the 7th inning. So I think that was probably by design. Again, man, I know every time Sale goes out there, we talk about the stuff and the velocity with good reason. He's the reigning Cy Young winner and all. But I think today it was by design. He did not have to go full pedal to the metal. And really, the one mistake he made was in the bottom of the 3rd. He left a belt-high fastball that went over the wall. Ended up being the go-ahead game-winning homer. But yeah, man, 2 innings from Sale, 2 runs, 7 innings from Sale. Much more efficient with his command. Did not need to throw a million pitches. I think it's something to build off of for sure.
Yeah, and I just looked while we were talking. He still has the highest batting average on balls in play allowed, BABIP allowed of any pitcher in baseball by about 20 points. So like he's getting for the season has been very clearly unlucky. He's never been that kind of pitcher. Like he's had a 300-ish BABIP for his career. It's like 383 or whatever it is right now. So I still think he's been unlucky. And one of the reasons why is that he has 46 strikeouts and 9 walks. That's a 5+ to 1 strikeout to walk ratio. You love to see that. And I think he's just looked like Chris Sale to me. And even the comments post game, both from Sale, from Snit, like no one's worried about Chris Sale, didn't seem like. And I'm with you 100% on the velocity. I think every time Sale's velocity dips, people worry. And I get why. He is an older guy and you want to worry. But I think he's shown repeatedly that maybe more than anybody in the league, but certainly in the top quadrant of the league, he is willing and eager to change speeds when he needs to. Maybe it was a Coors Field thin air kind of thing or whatever it was today, day game, whatever. But I have pledged to myself. I don't tell anybody else how they should react, but I just won't react to Sale velocity stuff on short samples because just that he doesn't. He does this too often. Even last year, he was doing it all the time when he was winning the Cy Young Award. He would one game he'd be sitting 95, next one he'd be sitting 92. But your point's perfect. Like when he shows that he can ramp up to 97 late in the game, like that's what takes away any concern, really.
Very cerebral, very smart. Sale has done this for a long time. He knows his limitations and his abilities. So yeah, and I think you're looking big picture here. If this is a sign of things to come, the Braves are going to be in really good shape. Is the fact that they are, let me just say this. If you told me that Chris Sale was going to have an ERA in the 5s or 6s coming into today, they were basically not going to have Spencer Strider for the first month. They were not going to have Acuna. They were going to lose Ronaldo Lopez after 1 start. They were going to lose Jurickson Profar for basically the entire first half of the season and everything else that's gone on with this team. I think we would take 14 and 16 all day long. Like
you always think about it. Yeah, maybe not like an automatic yes, but certainly a reasonable one if you if you include all that context. And we are big on context on this
yes. So look, man, again, we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not saying all is fine and dandy. This team is still below 500, but a good day for Sale. Hopefully a sign of things to come. He will start. He's not going to pitch in the Dodgers series, which there was a little bit of conversation about. Should the Braves have called somebody up to skip Sale and have him pitch on Friday? There's just no depth, man. I mean, there's
Yeah.
nobody in Gwinnett who you can with a straight face rely on to win a game.
Well, I was actually going to ask you this, so let's just talk about it, because people were asking us, and I think not just one off. Like, if we get a bunch of questions about the same thing, I want to try to answer them. And it was a popular theory, and I get why. Like, oh, let's save Sale. We're playing the Rockies and have Sale pitch against the Dodgers. That in itself is not a crazy thing to do. I would just say it's April 30th, and if Chris Sale wanted an extra day, or I guess would have been 2 days off, they would have given him an extra day. They're not averse to that. We saw that last year. They were very careful and eager to give Chris as much rest as he wanted last year. But Chris Sale's been struggling, number one, and he's his harshest critic. And I'm sure he would have liked to take the mound today. And look, they lost the game, but the process of it is like, I think you want to win. Like, you're not going to change. You can't take a game for granted. I think even it's weird to say this, but the fact that they pitched Sale and lost is actually a reminder that you couldn't have just like assumed a victory with a bullpen game against Colorado. Like, they pitched the heck out of the ball today and still lost. So I get the theory. It makes sense to me. But also, I would have, if Sale was right, and he clearly was, you just give him the ball, try to get him into a rhythm, unless he doesn't want the ball that day, and he's never going to not want the ball that day. So I get it, because it does make the Dodgers series, we'll talk about later on, a little bit scarier. There's some pitching matchups that you don't love on paper against LA, but overall Sale was quite good, and I think that's important to note. Also, this is from Jason Foster. I just want to say this during the Sale section. Last year, the Braves lost a 1-0 game with Sale on the mound in a game that Sale was incredible in, similar to today, to the White Sox, who we referenced earlier in the podcast. The White Sox became the worst team of all time. And the Braves lost a very, very, very similar game to the White Sox a year ago with Sale pitching and shoving and just some synergy. I don't know what it means. It's probably nothing. It's just one of those things that, like, I thought was interesting that Jason passed along.
I tried to purge that game from my memory, Brad.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about it on the podcast, and it's like, it doesn't matter now, obviously, and they made the playoffs, so it didn't cost them anything that they lost the game. But it was interesting to just kind of put those side by side, because it was eerily similar. I looked at the box scores; they're eerily similar games against two bad teams.
For sure. And the offense, as we outlined at the beginning, has been really, really good. Dear God, why is Eddie Rosario playing?
We'll get to that in a second.
This is going to be my 20-minute rant on the podcast, but and I shouldn't do a rant, but I'm joking. We're not gonna go crazy on lineup.
We're gonna talk about that. I promise you.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we get our friends at FanDuel Sports Network what they asked us for, and that was the player spotlight on Chris Sale. I don't want them to associate this segment with us yelling about Eddie Rosario on April 30th. So we'll close it out here. Check out FanDuel Sports Network and Braves games there, and we'll be back in a second. You can now stream Braves games through FanDuel Sports Network, and if you use the promo code BASEBALL30, that's promo code BASEBALL30, you can start it off with a 30-day extended free trial at FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. That is FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. Promo code BASEBALL30. Offer expires 5/2/25, $19.99 a month after free trial. Cancel during free trial to avoid charges. Eligibility restrictions apply. Visit FanDuelSportsNetwork.com for details. Okay, Scott, as noted, the offense, not so good today. We'll save Eddie Rosario talk for like 2 more minutes. We're getting there, I promise everybody. You referenced it already, I think, but they had 3 singles, no extra base hits, 3 walks. They were 0 for with runner in scoring position today. The top 4 of the lineup, Michael Harris has been really good lately until today, and he led off. Especially we like Michael Harris. We don't want him leading off, just ever probably. But the top 4 in the lineup, so Harris and then the big 3, 0 hits combined in the game.
Yeah.
In a game at Coors Field, that's not what you want, obviously. And look, it's literally been 2 weeks. We referenced the show 2 weeks ago, exactly 2 weeks ago that we did. That was the last time before today that the Braves did not get to at least 4 runs. And 4 runs is a good number, generally speaking. If you score 4 runs, you're in pretty good shape. You're not in incredible shape all the time, but 2 weeks in a row, they scored 4 or more runs in every single game. And then today they decided not to at Coors Field. So there you go.
Just kind of felt like getaway day. And it wasn't even like the Braves ran into a bunch of bad luck either. I think their expected batting average today was around 200 or 210. So it wasn't an unlucky game. They just didn't do anything. And other than, I think it was the 3rd inning, the Braves got a rally going, and that kind of fizzled. They had first and second with nobody out. They did get a run in by way of an Eddie Rosario ground out and a Michael Harris ground out, but that was basically it. Wasn't, it was different than like the Sunday game against the Diamondbacks where they had a million runners on base, had a couple of hits, but just couldn't quite get that one big 3-run homer to kind of change the game. It was weird. They played 3 games without a home run in Coors Field. That's weird. The Rockies walk everyone. They didn't walk a ton. I mean, it wasn't like the Braves were just free swinging today either. I mean, the Rockies threw a lot of strikes. Just one of those weird games. Hopefully it's not a sign of things to come. God help us if the lineup is now going to revert back to what it was before.
No.
I don't think so. Hopefully let's get Verdugo back in there. Let's get Sean Murphy back in there. Let's not have Michael Harris bat leadoff ever. Let's get Ozzie Albies out of the 5th spot. Why is Brian Snitker doing that? I don't know.
Well,
just little grievances today that led to a loss. And again, sure, Eddie Rosario should not be playing, but Rosario playing today was not the reason that the Braves lost. They lost because they had 3 hits and 3 walks in 9 innings at Coors Field.
And their best players did nothing. And that's, I mean, a couple of walks for those guys, but like, yeah, I think with this offense right now, if you were to assume that the best 3 or 4 guys in the lineup go 0 for the game, occasionally they'll do enough with the rest of the lineup, but they need those guys to hit. They have 3 stars. Maybe if you sometimes Michael Harris gets to that level, but they have 3 clear offensive stars right now that are available. And if they do nothing for you, this is an offense that probably can't withstand that too often. And that happened today. We talked about Eddie Rosario. Let's just do this now. Everyone thought this was odd at the very least. Of course, as Sean and Steven covered, they brought Eddie Rosario back. That actually happened, which you and I haven't talked about. He's on the roster. Yes, they're facing a right-handed pitcher, but Coors Field is probably the hardest place to play defense in baseball in the outfield. It's the biggest outfield in baseball because of the way that the park plays. It has to be that big or it'd be even more home runs. But it leads to a lot of doubles in Coors Field, like a lot of space. And Eddie is, let's just say, defensively challenged at this point in his career. He was never great, and now he's bad, basically. And look, I gave the stat on Twitter, so I will share it here. And look, we love Eddie Rosario, World Series hero, NLCS hero, never buy a beer again in Atlanta. Same thing. All that stuff still applies right now. Big caveats. Still love Eddie Rosario as a guy, as a hero. He's been, by the numbers at Fangraphs, quite literally the worst position player in baseball since the end of the 2021 World Series. That's 3.5 years. He is number 238 out of 238 qualified position players in Fangraphs WAR. Negative 2.1 coming into today, which probably got worse today. So Eddie's bad. We could just be honest about that. He's a bad baseball player at this point in time. And he's actually been worse than that recently. Last year, he was terrible, as we all remember. This year, he was so bad he was available to sign. So the combination of the park and the fact that he's been so bad, and Verdugo has been good, led us all to wonder. We don't know. I just checked Twitter one more time. If Verdugo was healthy, I don't understand why Rosario played today. I don't get it. But maybe he wasn't, to be fair. Maybe Verdugo is banged up and Snit is not just doesn't want to say that. That's the only way that I could see. I don't want to speak for you. That's the way I could see Rosario playing today with a day off tomorrow, is that Verdugo is like not 100%. Maybe.
I can see Eddie Rosario playing because his manager is Brian Snitker.
Well, that's yes. What I should say is if it was me deciding, that'd be the only way that I could see for me deciding.
Of course.
I'm with you 100% that that's probably what happened, is that, well, either Verdugo was hurt, again, just to give a little bit of the caveat, or Snit likes Eddie Rosario, which I understand why. And it is a righty that he was facing, and Eddie has a strong platoon split at times, at least has in the past. A chance to give Verdugo 2 days off or whatever. I don't know, man. But I'm glad you said it earlier. I want to reiterate this. It did not cost them the game. Nothing Eddie did, like he didn't throw the ball over the wall. Like he didn't do some incredibly ridiculous play out there.
Yeah.
He was just a normal bad outfielder today. Like nothing bad happened, but it would have been nice to play your best lineup.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to ever play Eddie Rosario. It's funny. I agreed 100% with sending Jared Kelenic to Gwinnett to play every day.
Same.
I think everybody agrees that is what is best for Jared Kelenic and the organization right now. But the millisecond I saw Eddie Rosario's name, I thought, oh no, Brian Snitker is going to play this guy until the front office takes him away.
Well, you just want to get, not to cut you off, but like I agree with you because I wanted that spot to be occupied by someone I've never heard of.
Yes.
Honestly.
Stuart Fairchild.
Exactly. That kind of player that no one knows other than the absolute sickos. Like that's better because Snit won't be tempted. And look, Eli White, we've covered Eli White ad nauseum the last week. He's been awesome. I don't know if Eli White's some game changer, but he's obviously playing every day. They're riding the hot hand. He should play right now. Totally cool. But yeah, it's a take the club out of the bag situation. Same thing we had same about with Ian Anderson, and obviously you and I didn't talk about that either. Ian was signed. We did talk about when he was signed, but he got DFA before he pitched, which Sean and Steven covered. That was another thing I was worried about. Is like having Ian available to pitch. Like you just don't want to have that happen. So
it's like a tough shot in golf, and you tell yourself, "I cannot make this shot," but then you look at your club and go, "You know,
I might be able to do this.
Maybe I could sneak it over that tree and before the sand and everything." And yeah, I mean, Eddie went 0 for 3 today, had a strikeout, had one opportunity with 2 runners on, and just weakly grounded a ball.
Hey, he moved the runners over, Scott. As you and I texted during that moment, he moved the runners over. So it was a swinging bunt. It worked out fine. I did say to you, just to be fully transparent, I thought it would have been funny, and I was not going to be shocked if Eddie homered just to like put one in my eye hole, because I had just tweeted basically about how bad Eddie was, and I was expecting that to come back and bite me in a good way for the Braves, and it didn't actually happen. So
fingers crossed. We still haven't heard a recent update on Ronald Acuna Jr., which is
Snit got asked apparently. Justin passed that along and Snit just said there's no update, which is I don't know what that means. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but we have not gotten the Ronald is about to start playing in games announcement, which is not the best.
So hopefully it's only a couple more weeks for Ronald. Also, if another team has to DFA an outfielder who has a pulse and is better than Eddie Rosario, and based on that stat you shared, basically everybody is better than Eddie Rosario, I would not be surprised at all if Eddie goes out and they bring somebody new in. It's not going to be a superstar, but why not try to find your next Ramon Laureano?
Well, yeah, it might be Brian De La Cruz. Not who. That's not him. I'm saying that person, but like somebody like that who we talked about a lot this winter. I do think I should have said this earlier. I forgot. If his name was not Eddie Rosario, they would not have signed Eddie Rosario.
Yeah,
like that seems safe to me. And what you said is 100% true. Like take a shot on somebody, but given just how bad Eddie has been for as long as it's been, I don't think that they would have signed him if not for the prior relationship, which is fine. I get it. I'm not outraged by signing him. I think it's not helpful. I wouldn't have signed him, to be fair. I was not like about to lose my mind, but I don't think it's a good decision to sign him because of what we just talked about. So
as long as Eddie Rosario is not playing beyond today, we're fine. If he's in that lineup again against the Dodgers,
I'm gonna
scream my mother effing head off if Eddie Rosario's in there against the Dodgers. You can maybe, today they lost. You can maybe sneak it against like the Rockies, or I think they play the Pirates in a week, but stop. Brian Snitker, stop. I'm sure you listen to every minute of this podcast.
Always.
Please do not play Eddie Rosario ever.
Well, we can do one more thing on Eddie adjacent, and it's April 30th. This is not a playoff breakdown podcast. I do have to say I'm at least slightly bothered that neither Sean Murphy nor Alex Verdugo came to the plate today in a 1-run game. There were multiple chances to pinch hit for Eddie, not only Eddie, but even honestly for Eli White would have been fine. I know he's hot right now. I get it. Or Nick Allen, like they could have hit a better hitter multiple times. Sean Murphy has been quite good, and I'll say again, I actually don't get it. Snit has the weird, as ad nauseum discussed, aversion to hitting his backup catcher, which will never go away, I guess. But it's a 1-run game in the 9th inning. Like Murphy, or Verdugo, if was available, could have led off the 9th inning for Eddie Rosario.
Yep.
You could hit Murphy if you don't want him to run, whatever. If he gets on base, pinch run for him. But like you're down 1 run in the 9th inning, like it's the time, and Eddie leads off the 9th, or was it the 8th inning? I can't remember which one it was. He let off one of those innings, and I was like, why is he hitting for himself right now?
Oh no, it was the 8th. Yeah, it was the 8th.
I
don't know. This was the getaway day on the West Coast with a 4-hour flight, and you've won 4 out of 5 games on the trip so far. This was getaway day to a T under Snit.
Yep.
It can drive us nuts because a game against the Rockies on April 30th counts all the same as a game against the Mets on September 1st or whatever day on the calendar. Just flush it, forget it, move on. And now they have a big series this weekend at home against a team that we know well and is as good of a threat as anybody to win a World Series.
Yeah, last thing on the game today, I just saw this. I think it was from DOB, but the Braves currently have a flukily large day game versus night game split. They can't seem to score runs in day games, which has happened in the past, but it's like a 2-run per game difference right now, which is incredibly large. So noise probably at this small sample size of a season, but they've just been bad in day games. And I believe they're now 3-7 in day games. Just a little bit of more fun with stats than anything else. I don't think it means anything. Just wanted to note that. All right, Scott, you just teed us up. We'll get into one bit of news and then a preview of the Dodgers series in just one moment.
Take me out to my TV on FanDuel Sports Network. Yeah. Watch me some dingers and RBIs. I'm just glad they have my local team live for its root. We'll root for the Bravos. If they don't win, it's a shame. Braves games, announcers, and more Braves games. FanDuel Sports Network has the Braves. Stream now.
Okay, Scott, the newsy item I just teased is that Brian Sticker said after Tuesday's game that they believe AJ Smith-Shawver is going to be fine and will probably start on Monday unless something goes wrong. So if you missed this, either on the show last night or previously, Smith-Shawver pitched well and then had to leave the game earlier than he wanted to leave the game on Tuesday. He was hit with a line drive in the arm out of precaution. Made total sense to take him out of the game. No one's been definitive, but everything that's been out there so far has been he seems to be fine, which is a good thing. Now, there was even drama whether he was going to start yesterday. We didn't know he was going to start until right before the game. So he's not like fully interested in the rotation, but when you look down at what the Braves have available and the way he pitched on Tuesday, you do want him to be able to throw on Monday, all things considered. So that's a good sign.
Oh, absolutely. And the importance of AJ Smith-Shawver has gone up even more with Strider back on the injured list. He looked really good. Again, all the caveats apply. The Rockies, they're terrible, all of those things. But that splitter that AJ throws is weird in the best way possible. When it's anywhere near the plate, big leaguers really struggle against it. And I know they picked Bryce Elder over AJ before the Strider injury. Bryce has pitched okay, but
yep.
It's obvious that Smith-Shawver has such a higher up ceiling, up
ceiling a new one. I like that. I'm leaving it in too. I'm not editing it. That was incredible.
Up ceiling.
I had one of those on Sunday where I said just the wrong thing, and I was like, you know what? I'm leaving that in. I can edit that out. I'm not gonna. Here we are.
There we go.
It's a live podcast.
Taking a stand in the editing process. Up ceiling for AJ Smith-Shawver is high. We saw it. He still needs to work on fastball command. Still needs to develop a slider or curve or whatever he wants to do to add a third pitch. But yes, good news. Didn't seem super serious on Tuesday night when AJ left the game, and he'll probably be out there against the Reds on Monday.
Yeah, a good sign there. That's the only bit of news that I've seen as of 7-ish p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. So we will now preview the Dodgers series, which begins on Friday. So an off day Thursday, obviously long trip back from the West Coast, travel day, etc. Showdown. Obviously, it's been almost exactly a month as the Braves were swept in LA in unceremonious fashion to fall to 0-7. That was a dark time in recent history. A lot's changed since then on both sides. The Braves have been playing better, of course. The Dodgers had a little bit of a lull about a week ago where they lost 4 out of 5. For best team was unexpected, but they are 21-10. They're good, unsurprisingly. They've had some injuries. They're still the betting favorite to win the World Series. All those things. They have a bunch of pitching injuries. Blake Snell is out. Tyler Glasnow is out. Clayton Kershaw is out. So 3 of their bigger name pitchers are unavailable. Old pal Freddie Freeman is now back, but he missed some time. So like they've been a little bit in and out. But broadly, we'll dive into pitching matchups in a second. What do you make of this? Because the Dodgers, I said, and I'll own it, I still believe it. The Dodgers coming into the year had the best roster I've ever seen in the modern era of baseball, and I actually own that take. I still believe it. But the available roster right now is not that roster. They have, like I just said, they have 3 top 3 stars in the rotation level guys out, other injuries. Like they're still really good, but this is not exactly like an absolute and utter juggernaut, as I knock on wood saying this. What are your thoughts on this series, broadly speaking?
Ton of talent in that lineup. You mentioned the Dodgers had a bad stretch. I mean, they started out 8-0, and everyone was like, wow, this team's going to win 120 games.
Yeah.
And then they basically had 3 or 4 weeks where they were a 500 team and just weren't pitching super well. They have the injuries. I think situationally they've struggled a bit. I saw somebody from the Dodgers, kind of like the Braves, honestly, whether or not you believe runner in scoring position hitting is a skill or is it random or is it variance and all that. But they had struggled with that too a little bit. But, I mean, you look at the lineup, a lot of name value. The pitching is kind of being held together by Scotch tape right now. It's not great. I mean, eventually it'll be really good. But honestly, if you had to pick a time to play the Dodgers this entire season, it's probably right now.
Yeah. The only way it would have been. Yeah.
It doesn't mean the Braves are going to come in and just, whoop their ass for 3 games. I mean, they might, but it's an opportune time now compared to maybe middle of August when they are presumably healthier, have added at the deadline because they don't have a budget and they have a good farm system and all that. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad time to see the Dodgers, especially for a Braves team that, as we know, they really went through it in that first week of the year out in LA.
For sure, and you're going to have to score some runs. Obviously, that goes without saying, because the Dodgers, while their lineup outside the top 4 or 5 is not like ridiculous, but they do have 3 of the best 10 players in baseball at the top of the lineup every day with Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. Like that's pretty ridiculous. There are very few teams that have a better top 3 than the Braves, and I think they do have a better top 3 than the Braves with those 3 guys. We'll see. The probables have been announced for pitching stuff, and got to say, unsurprisingly, given that Sale's not pitching, as we talked about earlier, and also the Braves' issues without Lopez, without Strider, they're favored to the Dodgers in the pitching matchups overall, I would say is fair. Maybe you disagree with me, but the first game on Friday is Grant Holmes against Yamamoto. Yamamoto currently leads the entire major leagues in ERA at 1.06. He is an ace-level pitcher. Saturday is the one matchup that might actually favor the Braves. Schwellenbach against Roki Sasaki. Sasaki's really talented, but Schwellenbach is really, really, really good too. And then Sunday is Bryce Elder, the aforementioned, against Dustin May. And just to give a little shout out to Bryce, we pick on Bryce a lot. He's given the Braves a good chance to win the last 2 games he's pitched. Yeah. He's not been electric, but he's been totally fine. If they can get 6 innings, 3 runs out of Bryce Elder, sign me up. Check mark, please.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, good on Bryce. And it's interesting. In his first couple starts, maybe his first 2 starts, I didn't think he was like god awful. He didn't pitch great, but the Braves had a chance. And at least in those first 2 starts, it's when the offense couldn't score, and that only amplifies everything. So, I mean, you look at the pitching matchups, they are not the sexiest. I mean, coming into the year, you could have had just all-time, Sale against Glasnow and Strider against Snell. You could have some like A-plus billing matchups. We aren't going to get that. But obviously the Dodgers still a good team. And if you tell me, I mean, the Braves, if they can win this series at home and take 2 out of 3 with Holmes and Elder, and then we talked about Schwellenbach on the last show being fine, not bad by any means, but pretty good-ish. I think you take a series win all day long, and hopefully the crowd is really into it at Truist, and they can kind of help the team out. And hopefully, especially if you can win that first game, where I think the Braves will be pretty big underdogs. If you can beat Yamamoto, who has been insane this year, then you really feel good about your chances going into the weekend.
Yes, I agree. They could just use a quality outing from Holmes and or Elder. One thing to not take back my shout out for Bryce Elder, that this is a different kind of test opponent wise. The Dodgers are not the Cardinals and they're not the Rockies. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, interesting games. Because it's Wednesday and not Thursday, the betting market has not matured. I think the Dodgers will probably be favored to win the series in the betting market, but not by a crazy amount. It is in Atlanta. That definitely helps things for the Braves on paper. Of note, and I know Braves fans will hate this, they have 2 national TV only games in the series. Saturday night is a Fox game, and then Sunday night is Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, which means no Brandon and CJ on Saturday, no Brandon and CJ on Sunday. Braves fans will not enjoy that, I promise you. On the bright side, it's not all 3. There was one series last year where it was Apple Friday, and then it was Fox and ESPN, and it was no local all weekend. It's only twice this time, but night games, prime time. Hey, it's a showcase for the team. I know people don't always love this. Listen to national announcers. It doesn't really bother me as much, but it is a national showcase that the Braves can win some baseball games.
Yeah, big challenge. Hopefully the bats are back after a disappointing Wednesday. Pitching is going to need to be on it. They cannot walk. They cannot issue walks to this Dodgers lineup. You start walking everybody, you are going to pay. Guaranteed. So big challenge for the team. They've been playing really well. 4 straight series wins in a row. Let's make it 5. The vibe will be really good on Sunday night, Brad, on the pod, if they can win the series, and let's hope they do it.
Yes, the vibe will be greatly affected by the performance over the weekend, but we'll be here no matter what. This is what we do on the podcast. I don't believe Scott's going to be here on Sunday. So we can blame Scott if things go wrong. I'm going to say that right now. If things go wrong, it's entirely because Scott Coleman's unavailable on Sunday, but I'll be here and a surprise. Whatever. Actually, we don't know who's hosting with me, but someone is going to be here with me. Or maybe I go solo, Scott. Maybe I just rip one off for 35 minutes by myself, just talking. We'll see.
I have done one solo podcast in my life. And the only thing I'll say,
I remember it. Why did you do that? I can't remember why. It was a big news thing.
Kirsten Waldrop's debut.
That's
all
funny
I
now.
can say for people who haven't done a podcast before. Imagine talking to yourself for 6 minutes, and it feels like you've been talking to yourself for 2 hours, and then you look at the little clock in the corner, and it shows you've been talking for 6 minutes and 13 seconds. That is what it feels like doing a solo pod. So we'll find you a guest. Maybe we'll do like a random like Twitter draw, and some random fan can hop on.
Let's not offer that. That's not a good idea. But no, it's funny. I'm sure we have some listeners that listen to my Hawk show as well, and I would say 80% of the time or more, that is just me for 35 minutes. So I'm used to doing this. I can do it in my sleep, but I won't. I'll try not to. For everybody's sake. But that's the lay of the land. Also, we probably will have a show Friday night after the opener. I don't want to promise that, but that's the plan right now. So stay tuned for that. Please subscribe to this podcast anywhere you find your podcast. And the Braves have a chance to win their 5th straight series over the weekend. Scott, anything else to add before we sign off on this Wednesday night?
Only thing to add, I hope our colleague Sean Coleman, the better of the Colemans on this network, is feeling better. I listened to the show last night. I thought Sean was going to pass out about midway through that show.
Yeah,
that was a trooper. That was a flu game episode for sure. So I hope you feel better, Sean. I hope you're getting some sleep. And as Brad said a moment ago, we will be back soon with more shows, win, lose, sunny, rainy. Let's go beat the Dodgers and hopefully have a good weekend ahead.
Sean, if you're listening, just tell me next time, man. I could have hosted the show for you. Scott we could have just done it. We could have helped Steven out. Could have carried but hey, Sean's a trooper. We love Sean. Thank you again to everybody listening to the podcast. One more time, one more plea from us. If you are a listener, sometimes that's totally cool. Go ahead and subscribe, follow, like, rate, review, all that fun stuff. Tell your friends, and we'll see everybody next time.